Most businesses don't collapse overnight. They decay slowly, quietly, and internally long before the numbers reflect the damage. One of the earliest and most dangerous signs of this decay is slow decision making. When decisions drag, momentum fades. When momentum fades, confidence disappears. And when confidence disappears, the business is already dying, even if revenue still looks stable on paper. Slow decisions act like silent killers because they don't create immediate pain. There's no sudden crash, no dramatic failure. Instead, opportunities slip away unnoticed. Competitors move faster. Customers choose alternatives. Employees lose urgency. By the time leadership realizes something is wrong, the damage is already embedded deep in the system. Speed is not just an operational preference, it's a survival requirement. At the core of slow decision-making is fear. Fear of making the wrong call, fear of being blamed, fear of losing money, reputation, or control. Leaders often disguise this fear as being cautious or waiting for more data, but the market doesn't reward caution, it rewards action. While leaders hesitate, the environment keeps moving. Markets don't pause for internal alignment or approval chains. Every delay has a cost. Even if it's not immediately visible, a delayed pricing decision costs margin. A delayed hiring decision costs productivity. A delayed product launch costs market share. A delayed pivot costs relevance. These costs compound quietly over time. One slow decision may seem harmless, but a pattern of slow decisions creates systemic weakness. The business becomes reactive instead of proactive. Slow decisions also poison company culture. Teams quickly learn whether speed is valued or punished. When every decision requires layers of approval, employees stop thinking independently. Initiative disappears. Talented people become frustrated because their energy is wasted waiting instead of executing. Over time, the company attracts people who are comfortable with stagnation rather than those driven by results. This cultural shift is subtle but devastating. Customers feel the effects of slow decisions before anyone inside the company does. Late responses, delayed improvements, and unresolved issues signal incompetence or indifference. Customers don't care about internal complexity, they care about outcomes. When your business moves slowly, customers assume you're falling behind, and they're usually right. In competitive markets, customers reward speed with loyalty and punish hesitation with abandonment. Leadership indecision sends a powerful message, even when unspoken. It tells employees that risk is dangerous, that mistakes are unacceptable, and that safety matters more than progress. This creates an environment where no one wants to take responsibility. When responsibility disappears, accountability follows. Without accountability, execution collapses, and without execution, strategy becomes meaningless. Another danger of slow decisions is the illusion of control. Leaders believe that by delaying decisions, they are reducing risk. In reality, they are increasing it. Risk doesn't disappear when you wait. It shifts. It moves outside your control and into the hands of competitors, customers, and market forces. Fast decisions keep you in control even if they aren't perfect. Slow decisions surrender control. Businesses that win understand that most decisions are reversible. They don't treat every choice like a life or death situation. They act, measure results, and adjust quickly. Businesses that die treat every decision as permanent. They overanalyze, overdiscuss, and overcomplicate until speed is lost. By the time a decision is finally made, it's already outdated. Slow decision-making also destroys momentum, which is one of the most valuable assets a business can have. Momentum attracts talent, capital, partnerships, and opportunity. When decisions slow down, momentum evaporates. Without momentum, even good ideas struggle to gain traction. Everything feels heavier. Progress feels harder. Confidence erodes internally and externally. History is full of companies that saw disruption coming but moved too slowly to respond. They had the data, they had the resources, they had the talent. What they lacked was decisiveness. Smaller, faster competitors took risks, learned quickly, and overtook them. Speed allowed those competitors to adapt in real time, while the larger companies were still debating. Decision speed is a reflection of leadership clarity. When authority is unclear, decisions stall. When accountability is diluted, decisions crawl. Strong leaders define who decides, how fast decisions should be made, and what level of risk is acceptable. They understand that being wrong is survivable, but being slow is often fatal. Fast decisions don't mean reckless decisions. They mean disciplined decisiveness. Leaders set standards, not delays. They move based on probabilities, not guarantees. They understand that business is played under uncertainty, and waiting for certainty is a losing strategy. Correction is always possible after action. Mistiming is not. Slow decisions create a false sense of safety while quietly draining competitiveness. By the time the numbers reveal the problem, recovery is far more difficult. The market is unforgiving to hesitation. It doesn't care how smart the plan was or how careful the analysis looked. It rewards those who decide, move, and adapt faster than everyone else. Businesses don't die because leaders make mistakes. They die because leaders stop deciding. Speed is one of the few advantages in business that doesn't require permission, massive capital, or perfect conditions. It is available to anyone willing to decide, act, and move forward without hesitation. Money naturally flows towards speed because speed signals confidence, competence, and control. Investors, customers, and partners trust businesses that move quickly because fast movement suggests clarity and leadership. Slow businesses, no matter how smart they are, look uncertain, and uncertainty repels money. In competitive markets, speed creates leverage. When you act quickly, you capture opportunities before others even realize they exist. You enter markets earlier, secure better deals, lock in customers faster, and learn ahead of competitors. Speed compresses time, and time compression is power. A business that learns in weeks while others take months will always outperform. Even if its initial strategy isn't perfect, money respects speed because speed reduces friction. Investors want momentum, not endless deliberation. They want to see decisions turned into action, not presentations turned into meetings. A fast-moving business demonstrates that capital will be used efficiently. When money sees that it won't be trapped in bureaucracy or indecision, it becomes more willing to commit. Speed builds trust, and trust attracts capital. Customers also reward speed. Fast responses, quick improvements, and rapid problem solving create loyalty. In today's environment, speed is part of the product. A company that moves fast feels modern, sharp, and reliable. A slow company feels outdated and unreliable, even if its offerings are similar. Customers don't just buy what you sell, they buy how you operate. Speed also compounds advantages internally. When decisions are made quickly, teams stay engaged. Energy stays high. Progress becomes visible. Fast action creates feedback loops that sharpen execution. Employees learn what works and what doesn't in real time. This learning curve becomes a competitive moat. While slow companies are still planning, fast companies are already refining. One of the biggest misconceptions in business is that speed increases risk. In reality, speed often reduces risk by shortening exposure to uncertainty. The longer you wait, the more variables change outside your control. Markets shift, competitors adapt, costs rise, and opportunities disappear. Acting quickly allows you to respond while conditions are still favorable. Waiting creates false safety while increasing real danger. Speed forces clarity. When decisions must be made quickly, priorities become obvious. Leaders stop hiding behind complexity and start focusing on what truly matters. This clarity sharpens strategy and execution. Slow environments allow confusion to survive. Fast environments expose weaknesses quickly and force improvement. That pressure is healthy. It keeps businesses sharp. Money also respects speed because speed demonstrates courage. Bold, fast action signals that leadership is willing to take responsibility. Responsibility is rare, and rarity has value. Investors back leaders who move decisively because decisive leaders can navigate chaos. Markets reward courage more than caution. Caution preserves the present. Courage creates the future. Speed doesn't mean chaos. It means disciplined decisiveness. Fast companies aren't reckless. They are clear about who decides, how decisions are made, and what level of risk is acceptable. They build systems that support rapid execution. Authority is defined. Accountability is clear. This structure allows speed without confusion. Slow decision-making often comes from the desire to avoid mistakes, but mistakes are not the enemy in business. Stagnation is. A mistake made quickly can be corrected. A decision delayed too long often cannot. Speed gives you the chance to adjust. Slowness removes that option. By the time a slow decision is made, the opportunity window may already be closed. In negotiations, speed is a weapon. Fast movers set terms. They control momentum. They create pressure on the other side. Slow negotiators lose leverage because hesitation signals weakness. Money respects those who move first, not those who wait to see what happens. First movers don't always win, but slow movers almost always lose. Speed also shapes reputation. Business is known for fast execution. Attract talent, partners, and opportunities. High performers want to work where things happen. Partners want to align with companies that don't stall. Opportunities gravitate toward motion. Nothing attracts money like visible progress. Technology has made speed even more critical. Information moves instantly. Markets react in real time. Competitive advantages decay faster than ever. In this environment, slow businesses don't just fall behind, they become irrelevant. Speed is no longer optional, it's mandatory. Those who can't decide quickly are filtered out by the market. Internally, speed builds confidence. Each fast decision reinforces belief in leadership. Each executed action strengthens trust. Confidence fuels momentum, and momentum attracts money. It's a cycle. Speed creates momentum. Momentum attracts resources. Resources amplify speed. Businesses that understand this don't obsess over perfection. They obsess over movement. They know that clarity improves with action, not before it. They know that money doesn't wait for comfort. It follows conviction. In the end, speed is not just an operational choice. It's a mindset. It reflects how leaders see risk, responsibility, and opportunity. Money moves toward those who move first, move fast, and move with intent. Most people in business are more afraid of making a bad decision than they are of making no decision at all. This fear feels rational, responsible, even intelligent. But in reality, indecision is often far more expensive than choosing the wrong path. A bad decision creates a visible problem that can be addressed. Indecision creates invisible damage that compounds quietly over time. The market punishes hesitation more harshly than mistakes. A bad decision at least produces movement. It forces action, reveals weaknesses, and generates data. Once something happens, you can measure it, learn from it, and adjust. Indecision produces nothing. No feedback, no learning, no progress. While leaders wait, it keeps moving. Competitors experiment, customers shift preferences, and opportunities expire. The cost of indecision is not just what you lose today, but what you never get the chance to earn tomorrow. One of the biggest costs of indecision is lost timing. In business, timing is often more valuable than precision. Being early with a flawed product can outperform being late with a perfect one. Early movers learn directly from the market. Late movers study reports about what already happened. By the time indecisive leaders feel ready, the advantage is gone. Timing cannot be recovered, no matter how good the eventual decision is. Indecision also drains organizational energy. Teams look to leadership for direction. When direction is missing, people hesitate. Projects stall. Initiative dies. Employees stop pushing ideas forward because they don't believe decisions will be made. Over time, this creates a culture of passivity. The most capable people leave, and those who remain learn to survive by doing the minimum. This cultural cost is enormous and often irreversible. Financially, indecision leaks money in subtle ways. Delayed investments miss growth windows. Delayed cost-cutting allows inefficiencies to compound. Delayed hiring overloads existing teams and reduces output. Delayed firing keeps poor performers in place longer than necessary. Each delay seems small on its own, but together they erode profitability. Indecision is rarely listed on financial statements, but it shows up in declining margins and slowing growth. Bad decisions, on the other hand, are often fixable. A poor hire can be replaced. A failed product can be adjusted or discontinued. A wrong strategy can be corrected. What matters is speed of response. Businesses that decide quickly and correct quickly build resilience. Businesses that delay decisions in the name of caution build fragility. They become brittle and slow to respond when pressure increases. Indecision is usually driven by a desire to avoid responsibility. As long as no decision is made, no one can be blamed. This creates a false sense of safety for leaders, but it shifts risk onto the organization. When accountability is avoided at the top, it spreads downward. No one feels ownership. Problems linger because no one feels authorized to act. Over time, the business becomes a place where problems are discussed endlessly but rarely solved. The market interprets indecision as weakness. Customers sense uncertainty through delayed responses and inconsistent messaging. Investors sense it through stalled initiatives and cautious language. Partners sense it through slow negotiations and missed commitments. Even competitors sense it and they exploit it. Indecision invites pressure. Bad decisions at least show strength and intent. Another hidden cost of indecision is opportunity cost. Every moment spent waiting is a moment not spent executing something else. Resources, time, money, attention are finite. When they are tied up in analysis and debate, they cannot be used for growth. Indecision locks resources in place while faster competitors redeploy theirs toward opportunity. Indecision also distorts thinking. The longer a decision is delayed, the heavier it feels. Stakes appear higher. Fear increases. What could have been a simple call becomes a psychological burden. Leaders start imagining worst-case scenarios instead of focusing on probable outcomes. This mental spiral further delays action, creating a self-reinforcing loop of hesitation. In contrast, decisive organizations normalize action. They treat decisions as part of a continuous process, not as rare events. They understand that business is not about avoiding wrong turns, but about navigating them quickly. This mindset lowers emotional friction around decision-making. People act, learn, and move on. There's also a competitive advantage in being willing to be wrong. Businesses that accept mistakes as part of progress move faster than those obsessed with being right. They gather real-world feedback instead of theoretical certainty. Over time, this learning velocity outpaces competitors who are still trying to perfect their plans. Indecision feels safe because it avoids immediate pain. Bad decisions feel risky because they create immediate consequences. But long-term success is built by confronting short-term discomfort. The discomfort of acting and adjusting is far cheaper than the slow bleed of hesitation. In business, not deciding is still a decision. It is a decision to let circumstances decide for you. And circumstances rarely choose in your favor. Execution collapses the moment authority becomes unclear or diluted. No matter how strong the strategy looks on paper, nothing moves when no one truly owns the decision. Weak authority doesn't usually show up as chaos. It shows up as delay, hesitation, and endless discussion. People wait because they are unsure who has the final say. When authority is weak, execution doesn't fail loudly, it fades quietly. In organizations with weak authority, decisions bounce between committees, departments, and individuals who have influence but no accountability. Everyone has input but no one has ownership. This creates a false sense of collaboration while killing momentum. The more people involved in a decision without clear authority, the slower the organization moves. Execution requires a clear chain of command. Without it, even simple actions turn into drawn-out processes. Weak authority often comes from leaders who want to be liked rather than respected. They avoid firm decisions to prevent conflict or criticism. Instead of setting direction, they seek consensus. While consensus sounds positive, it often masks fear of responsibility. Markets don't reward harmony inside the boardroom, they reward results. When leaders refuse to exercise authority, they shift the burden of decision-making downward, where it becomes fragmented and ineffective. Execution thrives on clarity. People need to know who decides what success looks like and how fast action is expected. Weak authority blurs all three. Teams become unsure whether they are allowed to act or expected to wait. Even highly capable employees hesitate when authority is unclear because acting without permission feels risky. Over time, initiative disappears, not because people lack ideas, but because the environment punishes decisiveness. Another danger of weak authority is the rise of informal power structures. When formal authority is absent, influence fills the gap. Decisions get shaped by politics, personalities, and internal negotiations rather than logic and speed. This slows execution even further because outcomes depend on alignment rather than action. Execution becomes a social exercise instead of an operational one. Weak authority also destroys accountability. When no one clearly owns a decision, no one owns the outcome. Failures are explained away and successes are diluted. This erodes performance standards. People stop pushing for excellence because excellence isn't recognized or protected. Over time, execution quality drops and mediocrity becomes acceptable. Fast execution requires leaders who are comfortable making unpopular decisions. Authority means being willing to say yes or no and accept the consequences. Weak leaders delegate decisions upward or sideways instead of owning them. They ask for more input, not because it's needed, but because it spreads risk. This creates a culture where decisions are postponed until urgency forces action, often too late. Weak authority also leads to over-planning. When no one feels empowered to act, planning becomes a substitute for progress. More analysis, more meetings, more documentation, all of it creates the illusion of movement without real execution. Teams feel busy but unproductive. The organization mistakes activity for progress, while competitors quietly move ahead. Execution dies fastest in environments where authority and responsibility are mismatched. People are held responsible for outcomes they don't have the power to influence. This creates frustration and disengagement. High performers either burn out or leave. Those who stay learn to protect themselves by doing only what is explicitly approved. Innovation stalls because innovation requires permission to fail, which weak authority cannot provide. Strong authority does not mean dictatorship. It means decisiveness with accountability. Leaders set clear boundaries, which decisions are centralized, which are delegated, and how fast decisions must be made. This clarity frees people to execute. When authority is strong, decisions move quickly and execution follows naturally. People don't waste energy guessing or negotiating, they act. Markets move too fast for weak authority structures. Delayed responses to competitors, customers, or internal problems compound rapidly. By the time consensus is reached, the situation has already changed. Strong authority allows organizations to respond in real time. Weak authority forces them to react late. Weak authority also damages external trust. Investors, partners, and customers sense indecision immediately. Slow approvals, changing directions, and unclear commitments signal instability. Capital avoids environments where execution is unpredictable. Money prefers clear leadership because clear leadership produces consistent action. Execution is not a motivation problem. It's not an inspiration problem. It's an authority problem. People don't fail to execute because they lack passion. They fail because the system doesn't allow decisive movement. When authority is weak, even motivated teams become ineffective. Strong authority simplifies complexity. It reduces noise. It shortens feedback loops. It creates momentum. Weak authority multiplies complexity, extends timelines, and drains energy. The difference between high-performing and struggling organizations is often not talent or resources, but clarity of authority. In business, speed and execution are forms of power. Weak authority gives that power away. When no one decides, nothing moves. And when nothing moves, execution dies long before the business realizes it's in trouble. Fear is one of the most misunderstood forces in business. Most people see fear as something to be eliminated, managed, or avoided. In reality, fear never disappears when something meaningful is at stake. The difference between those who win and those who stall is not the absence of fear, but their relationship with it. Winners move with fear. Losers wait for it to go away. In business, fear often shows up disguised as logic. It wears the mask of let's wait for more data, the timing isn't right, or we should be cautious. These statements sound intelligent, but they often hide emotional resistance. Fear delays action by demanding certainty in an uncertain environment. Markets do not reward certainty, they reward commitment. Those who act while afraid gain ground on those who wait for comfort. Fear sharpens awareness. It signals that something important is happening. When leaders interpret fear as a warning rather than a stop sign, it becomes a tool instead of a barrier. Fear focuses attention, heightens preparation, and forces clarity. Used correctly, it improves decision quality. Used incorrectly, it paralyzes. One of the biggest dangers of fear-driven hesitation is that it compounds over time. The longer action is delayed, the stronger fear becomes. Stakes feel higher, consequences feel heavier. What once required courage now feels overwhelming. This creates a downward spiral where fear feeds inaction, and inaction feeds fear. Breaking this cycle requires decisive movement, not reassurance. Fear also plays a critical role in leadership credibility. Teams watch how leaders respond under pressure. When leaders act despite fear, confidence spreads. When leaders hesitate, uncertainty multiplies. People don't expect leaders to be fearless. They expect them to be decisive. Courage in leadership is not emotional calm, it's functional action. Many businesses fail not because their ideas were weak, but because their leaders waited too long to act on them. Fear of rejection delays sales. Fear of loss delays investment. Fear of failure delays execution. By the time fear is reduced, the opportunity is gone. Speed belongs to those willing to feel discomfort and move anyway. Fear also reveals priorities. If the fear of short-term loss outweighs the fear of long-term stagnation, the business will shrink. Successful leaders reverse this equation. They fear irrelevance more than criticism. They fear inaction more than mistakes. This shift in fear alignment drives bold behavior. There's a misconception that confidence precedes action. In reality, confidence is a byproduct of action. Waiting to feel ready is waiting forever. Confidence grows when fear is faced repeatedly and survived. Each decisive move reduces the emotional weight of the next one. Momentum weakens fear's grip. Fear also tests discipline. Acting with fear does not mean acting recklessly. It means acting intentionally while acknowledging uncertainty. Leaders set boundaries, define acceptable risk, and move within them. This structure allows fear to exist without controlling behavior. Discipline turns fear into fuel. Organizations that normalize fear-driven delay create fragile systems. People learn that hesitation is safer than initiative. Over time, this erodes innovation and accountability. Organizations that normalize action despite fear build resilience. People learn that mistakes are survivable and that progress matters more than comfort. Fear becomes especially dangerous during growth phases. As businesses scale, stakes increase, decisions affect more people, more money, more reputation. This is where many leaders slow down, believing caution equals maturity. In reality, excessive caution at scale suffocates growth. Mature leadership knows when to slow processes, not decisions. Markets reward those who act before conditions feel perfect. Competitors who move with fear but move anyway capture opportunity. Those who wait for fear to disappear arrive late. Fear is not a signal that something is wrong, it's a signal that something matters. There is also a personal cost to fear-based hesitation. Leaders who consistently avoid fear carry unresolved tension. They overthink, lose sleep, and feel trapped by their own indecision. Acting releases that pressure. Even when outcomes are uncertain, movement restores a sense of control. Fear is unavoidable when pursuing meaningful success. Trying to eliminate it wastes energy. Learning to operate within it builds strength. The goal is not to feel safe, but to function effectively under uncertainty. Businesses that succeed long-term are not led by fearless individuals. They're led by people who understand fear, respect it, and refuse to let it dictate their actions. They act with fear, not after it's gone.